Honestly, that's a big reason I started buying a lot of Bitcoin over the last 6 months, is because I want to have a way to access some form of money that isn't tied to the US system.
Hey, can I ask a question as we open the show?
Yeah.
And this is a thought-provoking question.
Okay.
6 inches.
I asked it. Thank you. I figured that. So I actually asked my wife this at dinner last night because
it says the answer was not 6 inches; it was 4 inches.
Yeah. It was just enough.
We're gonna start right after the intro. I like that intro.
Oh God.
What's going on, guys? Welcome to Collecting Keys. I'm your host, Mike DeHaan, here with Dan Austin and Dylan Cook. And that's way bigger than 6 inches.
It's ready.
Yeah. Is that? It's funny. I was listening to a podcast the other day, just on the 6 inches topic, and they made a joke about what percentage of men do you think have measured their dicks? And, they're 60%, 70%. On the show, there's 5 guys, and of them, 3 out of 5 admitted that they had. Okay.
So the other 2 just hadn't.
Yeah, the other 2 are liars. But
the prudes.
Then they got into the question of what is the correct tool to do that? And they said a ruler, or do you use one of these, like a measuring tape?
A ruler. Yeah, it's funny you have a tape measure your desk too. Why are we such weirdos?
Of course, we're real estate guys, and that's because I have a bunch of photos up here that I was measuring out. And one of them made the point of, why would you ever put this near anything of that? Because if that happens, that's kind of frightening.
Right?
If it starts snapping close, that's a risky maneuver.
They're snapping, dude.
And I think he's onto something. I've been sitting here playing with this, thinking about that. And I'm like, that is kind of scary.
That is dangerous, yeah.
But anyways, so your thought-provoking question that you wanted to start with.
So didn't have anything to do with length or girth. It was, do you think that, somewhat of a chicken and egg question, do you think that people are attracted to doing Epstein level stuff because they're rich and powerful? Or do you think they're rich and powerful because they're attracted to doing Epstein stuff? This
is actually a really fascinating question, because I've been thinking about this as well. Is why does there seem to be a correlation here of there's all these ultra high profile people? Because also it's not like a lot of the people that are involved, it's not just billionaires, right? Because there's a lot of billionaires too that no one even has heard of before.
Right, of course.
Who's the 8th richest person in the world? Couldn't fucking tell you. Don't care.
Not me.
But it's there's celebrities, it's the Bill Gates, it's the big names, there's all the stuff about J.K. Rowling, her yacht records are all being wiped off of everything because she had obviously been doing shit around there. There's all these people that are high profile. And so the question is, were they targeted because they were high profile to basically be a part of this? But then also, how do they know? How does that initial interaction start? Do they seek it out? Do they go to the island for a rich person party? And he's hey, you like kids? We got this back here. What is the situation? And I don't know what came first, the chicken or the egg. It is very weird to me.
So here's my thing is I can understand how these, and not that I would do this, but how they go from, I'm not a rapist or pedophile, or maybe they're not even, I don't even want to say rapist or pedophile. Maybe there's just freaky parties at Diddy's house. I don't know. There's obviously a range of things happening in Epstein's Island, and a good chunk of it is rape and, sex trafficking. But so I can understand how somebody eases into it. Maybe it's hey, come on to my house in New York and we're gonna have a party. And then slowly, you're doing cocaine, and next thing you know, you're, whatever. But the desire to do that, where does that desire come from? Is it desired because you are rich and powerful and you're I can do whatever I want? Or are you rich and powerful because you have untapped desires?
Well, I wouldn't say it's untapped desires. I would say that your ethics are questionable enough that you're willing to do shady things that can expedite your growth, right?
So you have to do that to be Elon?
I don't think you have to.
Or Donald Trump. And the reason why I ask this question is because if it's wealth and power that causes it, then that means everybody has some level of potential to do that.
No, because it's not a 1-for-1 relationship. It's still going to be a percentage of people. So but what is that percentage within that?
So maybe 60%
within that community, of the ultra wealthy versus the rest of the world. Is it 1-on-1? I don't know.
Well, so out of the last several presidents, it's 2/3 of them. Clinton and Trump are at least on there.
Well, we've only had 4 presidents in the last 25 years, right? What have we had?
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, but I'm just saying.
We've had Clinton, Bush, Obama, Biden, Trump. Yeah, we've had 5. So, I mean, I don't know, man.
The Bushes are clean, man. They're clean. They're just warmongers.
Well, also too, like if you look at like the occupations that a lot of them had as well, you know, a lot of politicians in general, I think, are generally very narcissistic people.
Dirtbag losers. Oh, that's what I call them.
Right. So, like, you know, is there like a personality thing there? I don't know, man. Like, but it is weird. Like, it's a very interesting thing to me. So, like, if you look at like general appearance of humans, on average, rich people are like better looking, like not all the time, but it's very, very common for people with higher net worths, higher income jobs like that are better looking people. And so there's always the art.
So they like the rape.
Well, no, it's just getting away from the rape thing entirely. So it brings up like the similar question of like, are they more successful in life because it was easier for them to get there because they were more attractive, they had more opportunities, they had more social connections, those kind of things? Right. Or is it because they have more time to take care of themselves? They have the ability to have more resources to eat better, go to the gym.
I mean, money definitely makes you better looking.
It can, for sure.
But you can get more money if you are better looking too. So it's like
yeah, you know, so it's like what came first. I don't know. It is a weird thing, but I've also been thinking about this same sort of like correlation. I don't know.
Okay. So then is Jeffrey Epstein Satoshi, Dylan?
I don't. I think that was pretty well put to bed about the second that came out.
How was that put to bed?
No, I think he threw Satoshi into the freaking Gulf of America.
Into the Gulf of America, yeah.
Chopped him up. After he made Bitcoin for Epstein, he chopped him up, put him in the Gulf of America.
Well, here's my belief when it comes to the founding of Bitcoin. I do not believe one single human built that and then just kept it to the, you know, he's probably dead if he did, but like took it to the grave.
I mean, I would agree that he's either dead or lost his keys to the original coins. Because, I mean, I don't know any level of human that could see that kind of wealth and then not tap into it.
But also not talk about it.
He was on that Malaysian Airlines flight, dude. That's how that Malaysian Airlines flight went down in like 2016, 2020. Yeah, 2016.
It just doesn't seem like, I don't know, it's just really hard to believe in a world where like altruism is like hard to come by, that somebody would do that completely altruistically.
Well, one of the leading like theories is Hal Finney. He was the one that said like he was the first one that the Satoshi had a like ran the Bitcoin protocol outside of Satoshi's own laptop, and he died of I think of ALS like in 2013, 2014, and there were theories that he might have been Satoshi, but he is dead now, so like we'll never know.
Dang. Okay, so you're in the belief that it was likely an individual, not a government or a group of government-backed people.
Yeah, if I had to put a gun to my head, I would say that it was more of a person versus an entity. And there's actually a book called The Book of Satoshi that dives into like all the stuff at the beginning that they had on these. They weren't Reddit posts, but very similar.
I can see where Mike's fucking rearing up like a cobra right now.
The Book of Satoshi.
Yeah. It's actually sits next to the King James Bible.
Yeah, it sounds religious.
Well, yeah, right. I'm just thinking of it. Are the creators of South Park going to do a on stage version of this to go along with their Book of Mormon? Right.
They might. But anyways, they like studied like even his language, like to see, and like every time he was coding is all like, so like what time zone would he have been in and all this kind of stuff. And it kind of lines up with someone who would have been in Europe at the time, spoke with like European or Australian like nuances to the typing. So I don't know. I would think it would be American or a government.
Oh yeah, European nuance. You added like extra vowels to things. Like color has a U in it for some fucking reason.
U.
Right.
I think they're fancy.
I know, right? So yeah, I don't know. There's a lot of like weird stuff that's like tying together with him. I mean, if you think about that whole thing that was going on, it makes sense that he would have been into Bitcoin because he was probably trying to figure out how to receive funds in a completely
anonymous fashion.
Yeah, anonymous way for the children that he was trafficking.
Which is funny because there's emails that pretty much said like he had these meetings with these early developers. I think Gavin was one of the early ones. And he basically, from what I've seen, had a consensus like, oh, this isn't as anonymous as we thought. So I can't really use it. So I'm going to use JP Morgan instead because they can just pay my fine.
Fascinating.
Yeah. I don't know. So how do you feel about everything going on, Dylan? I know you had to sell your good microphones while you sound like shit today so that you could pay for your Bitcoin losses.
Well, it's funny. I don't know if you talked about this publicly on the podcast. It's obviously like I'm down a lot on a paper standpoint, but we were talking about just like investing, and I was able to take out some Bitcoin backed loans and borrow at, I think it was like 6% at the time. and lend these funds out to other real estate investors at hopefully 12 and 2 and make the spread between those numbers. And when I did it, I was like, okay, this is very low LTV. Like I should be like, even if we have a 50% correction, I should be fine. And then the price started to go down. I have had to add, more collateral to the loan. So I didn't get liquidated. And the first time I got that email,
even if we have a 50% correction.
Yeah.
That's
and
crazy.
The first time I got that email, it says like, hey, your loan's at list of liquidation. I was like, oh, fuck. Because if it goes below that threshold, I mean, they just yank it. Like, there's no, like, please don't do that. Like, it's just gone.
Do you think that might have caused such a rapid drop? I would imagine there was a lot of people that had leverage on their portfolios. And so as it was coming down,
yes.
I can't imagine there weren't a huge amount of forced liquidations that were happening.
Most people aren't like you, Dylan.
Yeah.
100%. And there's a lot of data to support that thesis. And even with like, IBIT, a lot of people, I don't know exactly how this works, but they're doing like IBIT, which is the BlackRock Bitcoin ETF, a bunch of like call option strategies. But the problem is like once you start, if you're naked short with like put options and stuff, you don't have a hedge and it starts going down. It's a cascade until you run out of money.
It just executes them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. And I do think there was a lot of that happened over that 4 days, which like we found, it seems like seemingly a floor around 65, 70K at this point. We touched 60, I think.
Yeah, I saw it bounce super hard after that. Yesterday. It must have been more a bunch of like buys were placed there.
The 200-week moving average, which it's only dipped below 2 or 3 times in its history, is like 60,000.
Say that again?
The 200-week moving average of Bitcoin is around 60K right now. And it's only ever dipped below that like 2 or 3 times in its entire history. So, I mean, if you were to fall through that support, or I guess, support, then you would have been like, oh, like this time might really be different. But
so Michael Burry, what's the news of him?
Well, I mean, he's called that it's been a financialized. So there's a lot of speculation now that the whole Bitcoin thesis is like there's only 21 million, right? Like there's a fixed supply. But he's saying that if you get all of these financial institutions involved, that they're going to do these financial derivatives on top of it, whether that be call options, derivatives, like all these financial products that basically create synthetic Bitcoin, right? And so like there's not really a cap supply. But when you try to synthetically modify an asset that does have a fixed, because if I hold this in cold storage, you can't take that away from me. But someone on the IBIT exchange, like they can all get liquidated at any moment's notice. So I do think there was just pent up leverage in the system, especially after like the Liberation Day, and like all the government was saying like we're the pro crypto government, we're going to have a Bitcoin strategic reserve. The 4-year cycle, everyone still believed in that we were supposed to peak in Q3 or Q4 of 2025. So like I think everyone was anticipating that as fact, and so they levered to the gills, thinking like, "Oh, I'm going to make so much money." And when that didn't come to happen, and we just the 4 kind of fell out from underneath them.
I mean, at the end of the day, everything that's like with the rate of information exchange and how easy it is to transact, not just crypto and Bitcoin, but like pretty much every stock and security and stuff like Robinhood and everything else now, it's all just gambling, because like basically what you're doing is you're going to move from one hot table to the next. So Bitcoin's going down, but gold's going up. So everyone's going to be selling all that shit and going over to gold futures. Right. And then, oh shit, Palantir is on like fucking doing something. So I'm going to take all my money out of gold and go over there now. Like
there was a Reddit post, Mike, about someone who basically liquidated everything into silver at like the silver top. It went down like 30 or 40% after he went all in, lost everything.
Totally, dude. I mean, that's like somebody that makes a sure win on the, freaking football game. And then there's an upset, right? Like it's the same sort of mentality on things. People just make dumb decisions.
And obviously Bitcoin trades 24/7, 365. It's not open to market. So like people, if there's a rush to liquidity, that's one of the first things to get tapped because it's still a big market. I mean, it's not like 1.2 or 3 trillion now. It was like 2 trillion at one point, but that's still a relatively decent market size for people that have some money. But like precious metals, like gold and silver had bigger volatility than Bitcoin up until yesterday.
Yeah.
And that's trillions of dollars.
Yeah, it's not, which is weird.
Do you think that it's an issue when like companies are holding this on their balance sheet, or do you think it's better for the actual crypto world?
So 2 things. I would say the people that just created Bitcoin treasury companies that all they did was buy Bitcoin and didn't have an underlying business to support the cash flows, I think that's pretty dumb. Because then you're just banking on appreciation. If that doesn't come through, you're effed. But I do think if you are a profitable company and instead of putting treasuries on your balance sheet or whatever, you want to take a small allocation, put that into Bitcoin, and you have a long time horizon. And I mean by that 4 to 5 plus years, then I think that's a smart strategy. I would do something like that.
But the problem is that I don't think any single publicly traded company has a time horizon beyond 3 months.
Yeah, quarterly by EPS. Yeah,
I know. It's all quarterly.
And I bring this up because I was reading an article about this, and they were just talking about how some like the liquidity, because it is highly liquid, and some of these companies that wanted to have a strategic reserve are maybe going to get forced to sell it based on, I don't know if it was their creditors or their board or whoever would say you need to get that off your balance sheet because you had $5 billion in it and now it's worth $2.5 billion. We don't want to take the risk of that $2.5 billion being worth X amount for whatever reason, because then they don't basically have liquidity that they may need. And so to me, that sounded like, I guess that could be the downside. Like it looks like an upside because it's driving up demand. But then if it's people are running to liquidity and selling it, then the spiral, as they're calling the death spiral, whatever happens.
Yeah, it kind of goes both ways, right? It can help on the way up. It can also go on the way down. So, but like to Mike's point, like there's a lot of retail traders that trade in and out of things. But right now, in like today's environment, there is a perpetual search for yield. And like, if you look at stocks, PE ratios and CAPE ratios they're like a 30 to 40, which is historically in the top 10%. We only got that during like the .com stuff. So meaning that if you look at the forward projections of the S&P 500 the next 10 years, it's like -1 to 1%. So then you look at bonds. Okay, bonds, they're okay, but they aren't really the best asset in the world right now. And everyone's looking where to place their money with valuations. Real estate's still pretty high. Stocks are still pretty high. So people don't know where to put their money. And that's like, I still think that if you look at the Bitcoin thesis specifically, what annoys me is these people that come out and say there is no like use case to it, which I just don't think is true.
And I used to be the believer, like that was my whole thing, is like, I don't understand what you do with Bitcoin. Right. And since, talking to you at length, I've changed my mind on that because it doesn't actually have to have a physical use. Right.
Correct. Right. And then, increasing purchasing power and being able to exchange value across mediums without someone else's permission, regardless of where you are in the world, is a use case.
That's what a piece of paper is.
And so I don't know. I see people like dunking on it, having their heyday. But if I'm looking at it, even out of a drawdown, like I am a net buyer at these prices. Like I am.
So are you buying right now?
So funny story is I was almost out of like dry powder because I was, deploying a lot of it. I have a building that I own here in Cincinnati that we just got the appraisal back today and we're going to refinance it. So I will be getting a hefty amount of money next week that a large proportion of that will probably be deployed into spot BTC.
Going to Bitcoin to buy actual more Bitcoins or to trade off of your leverage?
To buy actual more Bitcoin.
Yeah. I kept buying on the way down. I bought not quite down at the 60s. I bought in like the low 60s.
Trying to see what my last buy was.
Yeah. It's also like not my first rodeo because we've been, I was really into the crypto stuff back in 2017. When Dan and I worked in the same engineering office, I was like kind of the crypto guy there. Like so people would come and like ask me questions about
Mike
it.
He got me into crypto. What year was that? What did you say? It was like 20. God, we were such early.
It was 2017.
We're so early. You were way early.
The problem is like, we did what a lot of the dorks did back then is you got introduced to it through like Bitcoin or Ethereum, which were, was kind of newer on the scene back then. And then you got really involved into all these different like altcoins and shit. So it got like super dispersed across all these things that were just trash. And there was like a whole, I don't say movement. There was this whole trend of like these pump and dumps where these people would create these fake coins. They get all these idiots to go and like buy it. And it would like just shoot up and then it would crash down. And there was like these different exchanges that you could buy stuff on that would just like collapse. And like these dudes would like just steal all this money. It was freaking Wild West shit.
So Binance, I saw an article that there might be, and you might know about this, Dylan, is like they may have some liquidity issues because of the way that they're acting and doing things, that Binance may fail.
Yeah. I mean, they were the biggest seller yesterday by a lot.
Yeah. Oh yeah. But yeah, there was so many like janky ones. But I remember back in January, because it was actually right around when your daughter was born, Dan. Because I remember you were like in the delivery room or like at the hospital. And I was like texting you, I was like, are you seeing this shit right now? And you're like, bro, my daughter's being born. And I'm like, today is bad. I lost like so much money because it was at like 20,000 Bitcoin was and shit. Like it dropped so much that month. I'm actually curious what the number was.
I think it went to like 3 or 4 at one point because I was involved too.
I'm pretty sure it was like 3 or 4 by like the next month, but like in that one day it dropped down to like 9. It was crazy. That was kind of what it was. But the thing too is back then the market cap was pretty small and it stayed down in like that 3 or 4 point for years.
Yeah.
Until 2020, I guess 2020 when it started taking off again. And so that can happen. By September of 2018, it had collapsed 80%.
And I mean, if you hold Bitcoin for longer term time horizon, the gains come in a very short duration of window. I can't tell you the exact number.
That's like stocks too.
It is very much like stocks.
Yeah. I forget what the statistic is. I've heard this repeated a bunch of times where they basically say that if you miss like the 7 biggest days in like a year, you pretty much like don't make any gains for the year.
Yeah.
You know, because like essentially every single year, all the stock gains come in such a short period of time. But also at that same point, that's why there's always this argument against like timing the market, because technically, mathematically, your greatest gains are going to come if you just basically go all in instead of dollar cost averaging over any period of time because of the compound interest you can get, unless you go all in when things are at an all-time high, then you're kind of
fucked.
Because like there's people that lost their ass in 2008 that didn't start getting their get back in the green until like almost 2020. It took like 10 years.
Well, if you look some of the Japan's equivalent of the S&P 500, it's the Nikkei, I think is what it's called. In the 2000, they were at such an evaluation. It took until last year, 2025, that they broke even from their highs in 2020. That's 25 years of break even. So imagine if you were 40 years old when that happened. It took you till 65 to break even. Like, there is going to be times where, like, I think there's more uncertainty now in the investing world than there has been in a long time. I've said this before. I don't think the standard 60 portfolio is going to serve the general population well over the next 20 or 30 years. I just don't.
No, it's definitely not. So I don't really think anything is, honestly, because like so much is going to change at a more and more rapid pace. And I think that's the biggest challenge that we have with any sort of like long-term planning now is the way that technology and finance and the world generally is changing right now just because of the internet and the desire for people to change quickly. You can't anticipate what things are going to be like when you're 60 years old, if you're in your 30s or even your 40s. It's funny. I think back to when I got my first job out of college, and this guy from like Fidelity or whatever, the 401k company they had at this company, that he came in and my boss was like, oh, you should meet with him, talk about retirement. And I was like, okay. So I went and I met with him, and he like gave me like the little roadmap that they give everybody. And he's like, yeah, so, if you invest this much, here's what the company matches. And then if you do it this way, it's like you'll have like $1 million by the time, you're 65 and you retire.
Thanks for the $40,000 a year.
Well, totally. But so there was that piece. I was funny. I didn't even think about it that way. I was like, but when I'm 65, isn't $1 million going to be worth a lot less now? Because like money now versus like the 80s is worth a lot less. And the dude looked at me like I just spoke fucking Chinese.
He didn't understand a discounted cash flows.
Which is crazy because, he's just regurgitating what he's been told to say.
Yeah.
Right.
Of course. And I was like, has nobody ever asked you a question before? Like everyone just comes in and goes, okay, sir, I'm going to do this. And that's why all those people are poor now.
At my 401k meeting and when I changed employers right before I left forever, I asked about because a lot of 401ks with the plan sponsors are really fee heavy and the fees is what kill you. So I asked, I was like, how are you guys' fees compared to like a BOO or something Vanguard? And he just like you said, he just kind of stared. He's like,
I don't get asked those questions. Yeah.
I don't know what that means. Yeah.
I think it's competitive. I'm like, okay, well, that tells me all I need to know.
Yeah. But, and like, it's even worse now because like there's so many options and now we have to deal with like the rapid declining of the dollar and like all this other shit's going on. Who knows, man?
You guys ever think about black swan events that could happen in like your business or real estate? And I'll give an example first. It's like, if you are going all in a specific area and that area loses its only like manufacturing plant or like its job and like all the population leaves, like all your value could be wiped out just from something that's outside of your control.
Yeah, something you can't control.
Or the same side of that token is like, what if this 3D printing technology that builds homes actually takes off and it costs $30,000 to build a house? Like, is that going to drive values down all across the world? Like, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't think about it so much. Well, I guess with business, like now that we're in like the finance space, the quote unquote black swan events, like the biggest things are investors stop buying our debt, capital, like different pools sort of dry up.
For our industry, it's just capital.
Yeah, but like that's going to happen. Like that's not even necessarily a black swan event. Like talking to our attorney who helped us set up our fund and everything, he basically said that it's not like if that happens, it's when. He's like, it's happened 3 times over the last 5 years, and sometimes the money dries up for a month. Sometimes it dries up for an entire year like it did in 2020. And so it will happen. Like for me personally, I worry more about like quote unquote black swan events on like a macro level.
Like a COVID that actually works and wipes out all the old people.
Or the United States just fucking doing weird shit, dude. Like major war, like things like that. Stuff that can happen, that has happened, that people like to pretend like won't. I worry more about those things because that's completely out of my control, which depending on your view means that you either should worry about it less or worry about it more. Because when it comes to my business, I don't worry about the black swan events because I can adapt to that. When it comes to like the United States having a separation of like states or something crazy that like very might well happen, that's like something that could fuck up everything that I have no control over.
And that reason you shouldn't worry about it. You should worry about it personally because you're like, my life will change. But from a business perspective, there's nothing you could do.
Yeah, but it's more like having like a backup plan. So I'm not like stuck or I'm not tied into the financials. Honestly, that's a big reason I started buying a lot of Bitcoin over the last 6 months is because I want to have a way to access some form of money that isn't tied to the US system, you know? Because I got like the cold wallet, I'm texting Dylan, I got all this to figure out. So if I got to like dip out and like go across the border to Canada or like fly to New Zealand or some shit, I'll at least have some way that I can turn that into local currency.
Or maybe it'll get shut down.
There's not really a maybe.
Maybe,
I mean,
totally.
When Bill Gates gets arrested.
As long as you even have a satellite connection, you don't even need an internet connection. You can transfer it. So
that's never been tested.
Okay, Dan, you're right. You're right.
What's the black swan?
He's going to be more prepared than other people.
I mean, if it got that bad, I would say this: if it got bad to where what I would consider bad for needing to leave the country, I think the U.S. would probably be the last country you'd need to leave. But I would think that your Bitcoin's really not going to help you much if it gets to that bad. But also, everybody's in that same boat.
Yourself as someone who's in like, I don't know, a third world country that actually has the money to flee, and then they have capital controls, and they're like, okay, well, you can't leave with any money that you hear, and like, well, if you can memorize 12 words, you can go anywhere in the world, and they can't take that from you.
12 words? What does that mean?
Yeah, most seed phrases with hardware wallets are backed by a seed phrase that's 12 or 24 words.
A what? This is new to me. A seed? I can't hear you that well. That's why it's seed phrase.
This is why you can never get back into your little razor thing that you got.
So you said seed phrases, or those like you're saying like password like phrases to get to access it?
Yeah. So like, let's say you ordered one of the standard hardware wallets, actually you're supposed to randomize it, but you basically write down 12 or 24 words that, let's say, and you put the Bitcoin on there. And let's say for some reason your house caught fire, someone stole the cold card or whatever. Then as long as you still know those words, like you have them written down somewhere, they're in your head, you could order a new hardware wallet, re-upload it, and like you still have access to your funds.
Yeah, I would never be able to or remember 12 consecutive words. I would never, ever.
You just got to make it words that you know, Dan, like midget.
Boob.
Boob.
Yeah, no, I would never. I mean, granted, if there were just 12 random words.
What's your seed phrase? Dick 12 times.
Like, yeah, exactly. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Yeah, that would be crazy for me.
That can't match your ATM.
I will say that it is kind of, you do probably need that because like I left Coinbase because I was using Coinbase and it freaking pissed me off because I sent them 10 grand and they like held it. And they're like, I can't remember why they held it, but I bought it at the time what I thought was a good price. And then they pulled it off. And it was like 3 weeks of me going back and forth. And of course, they don't have a phone that you can call them. You have to message somebody. I don't know who I'm messaging. And they're like, no, sorry.
Of course
we don't know what you're talking about. And I'm like, where's my money? And then you know what was wild about it? It was like a month later, they sent it back to me and put it into a random bank account in one of my accounts. Like, cause Spike knows I have like, but our bank account has like 30 accounts on it. And like, I have like probably 7 or 8 personal ones. And like, it was a one that I have no idea how they would ever even put it in there.
They just like looked you up on the dark web and just went to that account.
It made no sense, right? Cause it's definitely not the account that I had connected.
Yeah.
Granted, I know when you hit up, like when you maybe connect with Stripe or not Stripe, what's that? Plaid. So maybe like Plaid kind of got confused cause it has access to all of them. But either way, I was like, what the hell? So I moved it over to the one you used, Dylan. And that one's felt like a lot more secure. But even then you still got to be like worried.
Oh yeah. Have you guys seen, while we're on the topic, Grant Cardone has been turned into like Bitcoin and supporter, I guess.
Yeah. So, I saw him and Trump's kid did a Instagram reel or some sort of advertisement about it. And I was like, oh, this is awesome. Like, what are these guys up to?
Well, they're doing like a blended real estate, like Bitcoin, like fund. And I actually don't think that's a bad idea. It's just the way that he portrays it is
It's having those guys on it is what's going to make me not want to be part of it. Like Grant Cardone is like,
Totally. See, but it's those guys that are just they're struggling so hard to remain relevant when, just like people care less and less and less about what they're doing. Real estate's not a sexy thing for them anymore. They got to find whatever their next thing is to remain in the news. That's why he was so involved in like politics or like in that last little while. So people would still engage with this content. Like these people are content creators. They will become political pundits, financial pundits, social pundits, whatever will get you to watch their stuff. It would be actually interesting to see how much money they make with their actual investments versus their media. Because their social media stuff, like you can make a lot of money off that with a lot less than you would think in terms of like views, engagement, and that kind of stuff, especially if you have like stuff that continues to attract views over like a long period of time and like people go and like watch stuff back.
Especially YouTube, if you get up with YouTube.
Yeah. That's kind of always been like Mr. Beast's thing is, with a lot of these videos that he makes, it's not like people just watch them right now, but people will go back and watch the old videos. So he has videos that he made like 4 years ago that still spit off tons of cash from the ad revenue that comes in.
It's like a new version of people who got royalties for books.
Yeah,
totally, dude. Royalties for books, royalties for movies, that kind of stuff. That's a good example, actually. It's very, very similar to that.
The cool thing, I mean, mine is Google. You basically own it too. It's like your content, like not a studio.
I mean, if you write your own platform, I guess your publisher could deplatform you, but like YouTube could take your shit down if they want. Like there's been examples of that.
Yeah, they could. Yeah. So they do kind of
There's been people that have been cooked by that because like they'll say something questionable in one video and then their entire channel gets disconnected. But with PewDiePie, who's the big one, if you guys know who that was, he like dropped some N-bombs on a streaming video and his entire thing got deplatformed.
Yeah, you probably shouldn't do that for many reasons.
I know. He's from Sweden. That was like 2015. That was like him just like desperately reaching for something. But yeah, I don't know. So I guess, Dylan, what is your forecast for all this stuff over the next year now that we've had the big dump? I saw it's already back up to like 71 as of right now.
Yeah, I mean,
or 70 and a half.
We had a good bounce since yesterday. And if this repeats, we kind of find a new floor. There's new people that become, long-term holders. And the people who made life-changing money, yeah, they might have sold, but like, that's okay. Like that's what makes a market, right? Like you're going to have new investors that come in. So, I mean, obviously I can't give like a price prediction. I do think we'll be in six figures again in 2026. I don't think that's hard to say.
I should just keep buying then. I bought all the way down, not a lot, but then I'm going to buy back all the way back up.
Well, for most people, I would recommend just dollar cost average, just like with everything else,
just go in right now. It's the lowest it's been in like a year. Just don't be a bitch. Just fucking.
Yeah, I do agree. Like we may have bounced off the bottom. I mean, I can't imagine. Well, I'm not going to say anything about. I can't imagine it going down again because it could, but it feels like we did bad. Like there for a couple of days, it was like, what's happening? And I was like, we were all texting back and forth, kind of talking about this. But now that it's popped back to 70,
there was so much speculation too. Like I eventually thought it was like a just a liquidation event for people getting leveraged. But like we were like, oh, the new Fed chair is a hawk. I mean, like he's going to be bearish and all this stuff, and like he wants a strong dollar. And everyone was just like they were looking for reasons to justify the price action, not the other way around.
Interesting. Yeah. Do you think there was some FOMO that it hit $120 and guys were like, I didn't sell, and then it dropped below 100 and they're like, it'll go back, and they're like, you know what, I'm just going to strip some profit out of here. Like a lot of individuals. A
good indicator is how many people text me and be like, oh man, are you selling right now? Or like, what should I be doing? And it's like, this is a good sign.
Yes, it's a good sign. What do you mean that people are?
Because they're engaged. They're thinking about it, which I mean is also why I think we'll drive it back up again. Because also too, if it's reached that before, there's always an inherent belief that it will do it again. And I was thinking where it starts to get into uncharted territory is when it starts to like really push, like in the last little bit when it like really went from whatever it was like 60 to like 100 like really fast. It's because people were kind of like following that momentum, but then it stayed up there for a long time because
above 100,000 for like almost 6 months straight. Like there was not much volatility in Bitcoin for a while. Then we got it all at once.
You know what it is? It's because your set point of what something's worth changes so quickly. It's like houses. Like with our real estate business, we all experienced this where you had all these people that were like, my house is worth $400,000. It's like, it's not anymore. It was in 22. And I also know that when you bought it, in fact, 3 years before you talked to me, it was worth like 200,000. But as soon as they hit 400, you're like, that's what my house is worth now forever. And you own that. And so I think that people, when it comes to something like Bitcoin, which honestly, you know what the biggest thing with Bitcoin is that's so powerful? It has such great branding because you can say like, I own like a single coin. And so people like give a valuation of like one coin, right? Like they can like view that. Where you see like something like Ethereum, like you say, how much Ethereum do you have? You say it in like a wider metric instead of like, I own like a singular thing. So people will say like, what is a Bitcoin at right now? Oh, it's at 70 grand. Okay. So there gives an inherent value.
There was some talk in the community about like, so an individual, like I think it's 100 million decimal points, and it like one Satoshi is like the smallest denomination. But people are like, if you say one Bitcoin, like there's perception that because it's at 60,000, that if someone invests $5,000, that money's not going to change their life. Right? Because they don't think it could have an exponential growth, where someone invests $5,000 into something that is $5,000, like it has a higher chance of going to 60,000 or whatever, which obviously is not true. That's not how that works. It's just like the human psychology of that. It's like when people, like when stocks do like stock splits just to get the price lower till it looks more affordable. Elon Musk has done that like 10 times.
Yeah. People are bad at math.
Yeah, most of them are.
Because everyone's dumb now.
Or like, I see the crypto space was funny. Like when Dogecoin or whatever was going around, it was like 5 cents. They're like, if this goes to $1, that's a $500 trillion market cap. Can you not fathom what that means?
Yeah,
like,
I know. People don't think about that.
Yeah, no, people don't. Dude, this we're talking back in fucking 2017 again. That's what like everything was.
They're like, anything's possible.
I love the optimism.
No. Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's like for that to be worth $1, it would be like a larger market cap than like the United States and Europe and fucking
all the
whole
money
world.
in the world.
Like, all the dollars would have to be in there.
Yeah.
We just decided that is the only currency that everybody's using is that now.
Yep. So, and it's going to happen overnight or the next year.
It's going to happen. Yeah. Right. So, but anyways, all right, guys, anything to wrap up?
I'm good.
No, I am optimistic about the future. That's what I'll leave with.
I like your optimism. I'm optimistic. I bought $5,000 while we were sitting here talking.
Love it.
There you go. Look at that. Put it on an Amex. Get yourself some freaking flyer miles right there.
Oh, yeah. I'm levering up, dude.
We should rip it all on the old like collecting keys card that has unlimited and then just let it bounce. What are you going to do? Come after the LLC? There's no money. Fuck them. Probably shouldn't have recorded that. It might come after us now.
I'm hoping it's just your name on that card.
Last 30 seconds.
Yeah, right. That's right. Yeah. Deal with the Amex. There's nothing left in that. And I have a limited liability company for a reason. Cool. All right. Well, thanks for coming to Coin Talk with Dylan and Dan.
Coin Talk.
And sometimes Mike. See you guys.
Bye.
See ya.
This episode is sponsored by Sir Lancelot LLC, also known as SLA Capital, which, if you didn't know, is Dan and I's private lending company. So yes, we are sponsoring our own show, but what you going to do about it? It is our private lending company that offers hard money and DSCR loans to real estate investors of all types. So you can be a new investor, an experienced investor. You can be buying flips. You can be buying rentals, whatever. We can do everything. And not only that, but the rates that we offer are just as competitive, if not cheaper, than pretty much every other company out there. So whatever big company you've been working with, bring us their term sheets and I guarantee you that we can probably beat it. We have the same connections they do. We just don't have all the overhead and middlemen. So if you want to come and check us out, go to slacapital.com/keys and I will know that you came from the show. And by seeing that you came from here, when you get to closing, you will save $500 on your first loan with us. So slacapital.com/keys, we would love to fund your next deal. Thanks for listening, everyone. If you want more from us, you can shoot us a follow on Instagram. I am at Mike_invest. Dan is at InvestorMan Dan. And Dylan is at Dylan_does_deals. Shoot us a follow and send us a DM to let us know what you think of the show.